Now, please welcome Chief Operating Officer of Plum Guide, Foulds.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. It's a lot bigger than I was expecting. I don't know why I was expecting to be chatting to about 30 people, but this is great. This is exciting. Like that just mentioned, my name's Graham. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Plum Guide. And we have, of course, used AI to reduce cost and improve efficiency. Over here. But what we want to focus on today is how we're actually using it to improve the guest experience, because that is really important to us. By way of introduction, for those of you who might not know us, we're Plum Guide. We are a short-term rental platform, and we specialize in the premium and the luxury segment. We're a smaller brand than some of the huge ones in the room. We started just 8 years ago, but we've got 44,000 beautiful homes live on the site. And we've been growing about 80% year on year since we started. And the thing that makes us a bit different is that we are absolutely fanatical about quality and about curation. So much so that way back in 2016, when we were just getting started, most people were adding every air mattress and cot to their platforms. We were actually out testing every single home in person to decide whether to add it or not. We did this using a team that was trained, a team of home critics. They usually had a background in hospitality, and they would go and weren't afraid to get their hands dirty, so to speak, in the homes. So they would actually go in, they would meet the host and interview them. They would do things like sit on the bed and feel the mattress, feel the quality of the linens, open the cupboards. They would use a testing app that would do things like measure the Wi-Fi speed and the shower pressure, all with the goal of trying to figure out, should this be allowed onto the Plum platform or should it not? And unsurprisingly, the vast majority didn't make it. We only accept about 1 in 20 homes that we evaluate, but the ones that did a really exceptional job of delighting our guests. So that was all great, but the challenge that we faced a few years ago was that that process was extremely manual, took a long time, and it was pretty costly. We calculated sort of back of the envelope that it would cost about $100 million in investment just to open the top 50 locations for our guests, and that was too much. So the reason I'm on stage today is to share with you our sort of breakthrough in developing curation AI. I'll talk about it in 3 chapters. First, a recap on inspection AI, and then I'll talk about 2 things that we've been developing more recently that we're excited to share. So first off, inspection AI. A couple years ago, when we started to hear all the buzz about machine learning, and of course that it could process huge amounts of data and make decisions and predictions, we of course were asking ourselves, could it do just as good of a job as our trained home critics to decide whether something should be on the Plum platform or should it not? Doran, our CEO, actually presented this piece of tech at last year's short-term rental conference, and it's one of the more advanced things that we've built, so I'm not going to do it justice in a couple minutes, but I'll do my best. I think there's a YouTube video if you want to check out what he talked about last year. But in brief, this is how it works. So the first data set that we had that we trained it on is all of those tens of thousands of home inspections we performed in person. So tens of thousands of homes that passed, tens of thousands of homes that didn't. And for those same homes, we have lots of digital data points and signals about them. So their reviews, for example, the amenities, the listing information, the price point, the photos. And we put both of those data sets into the model to see if it could accurately predict, just as well as the humans, whether a home should pass or fail. So it would look at patterns in everything that passed the test to try and learn from the digital signals what they have in common. Same for the ones that failed the tests. What do they have in common in the digital signals? A really simplistic example, in case that went over anybody's head, because it did mine the first time I heard it, is let's say the model noticed that every time a home critic saw a yellow couch, they failed the test. Then the model would go into the digital data set, and it would say, I can recognize a yellow couch in all these photos, so I'm going to fail those homes. Of course, that's not what it does. We've got nothing against yellow couches, but in layman's terms, that's a bit about how it works. We trained it using multiple models. So one was Google's Vertex AI model, but we had other things in there like a photo classification model that we built as well. And it took the better part of a year, tons of fine-tuning, adjusting our prompts, lots of human feedback as well, but eventually we got it to come to the same conclusion 9 times out of 10 that a human would have done, which was hugely important for us. It reduced the amount, it reduced the cost for us to get a home live by 85%. In those 2 years after we developed that, we tripled the number of homes on the platform, something we would have never been able to do before. But of course, the most important point is, was the quality maintained? But I won't spoil the next section. I'll come back to those stats in a second. So that was the first chapter. That was inspection AI. And the second thing we developed, or the second brief that landed on our desk, so to speak, was around our listings. And the challenge was, could we not only write our listings faster and more cheaply, but could we actually improve the stay experience just by better signposting to guests? These are the superpowers of this home, and these are the drawbacks. It's maybe not hugely novel, given we've heard some people talking about it, but there's a few things that are different for us. One is that we actually control all this editorial information on our platform. We come up with the names, the descriptions. We used to have humans writing them all. So we do that, and we don't allow the host to do it. But I'll use an example to show how this works. This listing in London is called Get Into the Grove in Notting Hill. At first glance, you can see that it's designed nicely. It's a bit eclectic. We call out in the description that it's good for a couple or a solo traveler. But besides that, you don't get a real sense for like who should really book this and who shouldn't. So we built a tool that scans way more information to generate highlights and home truths to do that signposting. These are 6 of the more than 60 reviews this listing has. And the tool can scan all this text, perform sentiment analysis on it, pick up the positive things. So as you can see here, everybody is raving about the location. It's close to the markets, the shops, the cafes. But there are some interesting other pieces of information in there. You can see that Bree, even though she loved her stay, notes that there's not very much storage room. Someone else mentions that it's on the first floor, so there's stairs to climb. Someone says that there's a wine bar downstairs. So what Listing AI will do is it will summarize all that information. It will generate highlights and home truths. It will actually write the copy that was trained based on the thousands of highlights and home truths that we've written manually. And it will even select an image, the most appropriate image from the gallery, to put it on the listing. It's still tweaked by humans, but now you can see this gives you a much better sense of who would love it here and who should stay away. So if you're a foodie and you love shopping and wine, if you're like my mother and you won't go anywhere that doesn't have a fully equipped kitchen like hers at home, then this is the place for you. But equally, if you are fanatical about your sleep and you need it to be perfectly quiet, you probably shouldn't stay here because there's a wine bar downstairs, which it calls out. Equally, if you have mobility issues, it's important that you know that it's not for you. So now in terms of the results on this, when we started releasing these listings, our conversion actually increased and continued that upward trajectory, which was great. Maybe a bit counterintuitive, because as you can see, we're actually putting more critical information on that listing than was there before. But when we compare that cohort of listings to previous ones, guests are still clicking through to them just as much, and they're still booking them just as much, which is great. And the most important thing for us, the holy grail, so to speak, is NPS, our Net Promoter Score. It's at a 3-year peak, and it's a full 20 points over the average for the last 2 years. That is as a result of these listings going live and not dropping the bar on the quality of homes that we're letting in. So those are the first 2 chapters. The last thing I just want to give you a quick sneak peek on is something that we're developing behind the scenes, still very much a beta test, officially called Recommendation AI, but we unofficially refer to it as Mary Matchmaker. And the reason we refer to her as that is because we actually have a human matchmaking team. You can think of them as travel advisors. They help guests find the perfect home for them. They help them book. And we've definitely noticed in the past year that a lot of other brands are experiencing or experimenting with AI chatbots, so much so that our matchmakers get asked almost every day, "Are you real? Are you a bot?" People will put some funny things in there to kind of throw them off, but then they just respond that yes, they are. For example, the lovely Alexia, who's based here, will say, "Yes, I am. Is there anything I can help you with?" But as you can see, our different take on this, on chat-based search and AI-based search is that we don't want to get rid of our human team at all. It's one of the things that we get the most positive reviews from. People can't believe that in this day and age, they can still ring us, they can still chat to us, and get a real person to help them book a holiday. So our unique take is that we're actually developing Mary Matchmaker to be an AI assistant to our matchmaking team, so that we can get the best of both worlds. That matchmaking team can leverage all the information and leverage that speed, but still doing the things that AI doesn't do very well, like developing a human relationship and bond with our guests. So again, let me show you an example so you can see how it works. This person is inquiring, it's over here. This person is inquiring for a long stay in New York. They want to know if this building has a doorman. Mary Matchmaker is trained on a unique data set. It's 8 years worth of conversations between matchmakers and guests, and between guests and hosts. So that's obviously not public information, but that's where there's a lot of rich information about these listings. So you can see here that back in 22, someone said, "I'm just inquiring about check-in," and the host responded, "Just come to the building and the doorman will let you in." So Mary Matchmaker can scan that in seconds, can tell the lovely Alexia that that's the case, that there is a doorman, and she can get on with helping the guest. And it might seem like a simplistic answer, but anybody who knows sales knows that speed is essential to conversion. So she's got that information in seconds. She doesn't have to call the host to find out. And the second thing is that she can spend more time actually understanding the guest's needs and using her expertise about New York to find them the perfect place to stay. And that's about it. There's as ever, there's teething issues with these things. I don't have time to go into them, but we can talk about them in the Q&A, or you can find me after. But yeah, that's a little bit about how we are using AI to enhance the guest experience. Thank you. Hello. There you are. Thank you.
All right. We will have questions via Slido, so if you have anything, please send them through. I think one of the first things I want to ask is you have three very different use cases.
Yeah.
And like people talk about this, that some AI models are better at certain tasks than others.
Yeah.
Have you found that like when you're training, you're using some of these large models, like they're better at a certain task than the others? Are you actually experiencing that?
Yeah, definitely. So we use different models at different points. I didn't get to it in the presentation, but for example, the thing that pulls out the right image is different to the one that we use to do the home inspections. I think that one was called Blip or something like that. So in talking to the data team, they use multiple different ones. Some of them are OpenAI, some of them are Google-based, and some of them we've trained more in-house.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing was like the pictures are fantastic. But I think we all have experienced something in our own consumer journeys where the pictures and the reality are a little different.
Yeah.
If you're training it on the pictures which are clearly like professionally taken, have you seen a challenge where the model actually says that this one is, Plum Guide ready, but actually the reality is that the property might be different? Has that come across? Have you seen that as a challenge?
Interestingly, we've kind of noticed the opposite is true. And the reason for that is the homes that delight the guests most are most often ones where the homeowner is there themselves. So they're less likely to have professional photography and super glitzy, super sort of flashy photography. And interestingly, the model has learned that those are the homes that are better. and sometimes they're taken with iPhone pictures or a bit askew. But rather than downgrading them, it's actually promoting them because it knows that those are more correlated with stuff that will delight the guest.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talked about earlier today on one of the sessions, we were talking about like latency in some of the AI models.
Yeah.
And I feel like on your recommendation thing, the use case is actually pretty unique that the travel advisors are using it to then talk to travelers.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you seeing like their just natural interaction is sometimes hampered because now they're waiting on a kind of response to then actually chat with the traveler? Is that something, or have you seen that? Or if you've seen that, how have you solved for it?
It's something that they're used to see. Oh, the questions are coming up. That's exciting. It's something that they're used to. Even sometimes they've got to go and check something for the guest in the back end system or chat to the host before getting back to them. So it's something they've always had to do. In actual fact, this has sped up the process loads. And I should mention too that if it was just indexing things like does it have a pool, does it have an oven, which lots of models can do, then they can get that information easily anyways. The fact that it's indexing stuff like doorman, which is pretty New York specific, that's massively helped speed up that bit and not have them waiting around. Yeah.
Gotcha. What is the overall like traveler feedback or the guest feedback on the recommendation AI? Like, are you sensing it that is helping solve some of the issues and helping travel advisors be more personalized or things like that, or are you having different metrics as you think about the performance of that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's only enhanced it. I mean, the like I said, the feedback on our matchmaking team has always been super high, but it's only enhanced it because now they can get more answers more quickly. For us, the benefit is in the unit economics, right? We now have Alexia, one of the matchmakers, who can handle many more deals at a time because she's not having to go spend 20 minutes calling a host, which is also great for the bottom line.
We always talk about like friction and engagement of when you're trying to adopt a new technology. What has been some of the areas where you had to work on the friction so it's easy to implement any of these within the organization? What are those areas of friction that you had to focus on?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, in all honesty, I think for us, because I was chuckling before because actually, in describing the home test being at like a tech conference, it was one of the most analog things you could possibly do, like open the drawer. So not built for AI. So actually, one of the challenges was actually getting internal buy-in to say, we're going to use tech and AI to enhance what the home critics do, to enhance what the matchmakers do. People in our business feel really strongly that we have to put quality above everything else, and sometimes they associate that with only humans doing it. So for us, that was one of the challenges we had to overcome, get people to buy in and see that this could enhance what we already do, not just make us a bit like everybody else.
Wonderful to see the evolution, especially over like last year, now having 2 brand new use cases there.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me thank Graham from Plum Guide.